Hello and welcome to my Driver of the Weekend categories video for the Emilia-Romagna del Made in Italy Grand Prix that we just saw a couple of days ago. And this is the final video of this weekend's Grand Prix, video number 8, I believe, over the Grand Prix weekend, and we are collating all of the numbers that I have done in the practice edition of the race weekend data analysis, the qualifying edition, and also the race edition as well, plus a bunch of other things that are outside of those videos that are just put into one big whopping Driver of the Weekend algorithm to determine the Driver of the Weekend. Now, I've also ran a opinion poll on the video where I ranked the drivers post-race on Sunday, in which you guys took part. I received 17 responses to that, which is absolutely mega. I have had to take the top 10% results out and the bottom 10% results out, as lots of people still tend to give everybody all 20s or everybody all 1s. It's a little bit annoying, but yes, taking the top and bottom 10% out seems to do the trick. So I've then averaged all of those results out, and then we are going to compare in this video the results from my data algorithm, the results from my own opinions, and your guys' results as an audience, and see how they compare. So with all of that out of the way, we jump on into the Driver of the Weekend for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, and we start with the Driver of Practice. Now, this isn't entirely relevant as lots of factors come into practice, etc., but it doesn't play a very big role whatsoever in the overall rankings. It's just interesting to see where people pop out in practice. It's actually Gasly followed by Latifi, then Stroll. We go from left to right. The closer your score to 20, the better your weekend or session is. But because practice isn't overly relevant, we will leave that and head on into qualifying. And it was actually Esteban Ocon with the algorithm that was determined to be the best driver of qualifying, then Lando Norris, even with his lap that got deleted, Charles Leclerc, and then Mick Schumacher as well, Sergio Perez above Lewis Hamilton, Nicholas Latifi, Pierre Gasly, with Verstappen outside of the top 10. Now, if any of you are interested in exactly how these are worked out, I do have a series of 3 videos in which I break down the 27 main categories that calculate all of these rankings. Half look at your own individual performances, isolated from anything to do with your teammate, and then the other half look at teammate performances and how well you performed against them. This algorithm progressively gets more accurate as the season goes on and the more data I receive. As for the individual categories, we look at a couple averages throughout the season, and obviously round 2 we've only got 2 races to look at, which isn't a lot in terms of averages, so the further the season goes on, the more accurate this is going to get. But from qualifying driver of the day, we take a look at the race driver of the day, and this was declared to be Max Verstappen, just from George Russell, even though he failed to finish. Again, you'll find out if DNFs and things like that come into play in the explanation series of videos. George Russell and Lance Stroll are matched on 14.8, then it comes Charles Leclerc, Mick Schumacher above Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Raikkonen, who are joint on 12.7, with Nicholas Latifi, who had 0 race data for the algorithm, so he unfortunately gets a score of nothing. And then smushing all of this together, taking 5% of the practice score, 30% of the qualifying score, and 65% of the race score, we end up with the driver of the weekend, which is declared to be Lando Norris. And honestly, I can get behind this. And then Max Verstappen in P2, George Russell P3, then Lance Stroll, Charles Leclerc, Mick Schumacher, Esteban Ocon, Lewis Hamilton, and Kimi Raikkonen, all so very close. Just 2.4 points separating these drivers, and there's a bit of a drop-off towards Carlos Sainz and Gasly, who are on 10.3, then Nikita Mazepin on 10, split in the middle, and then we've got Ricciardo, Giovinazzi, Vettel, Alonso, Bottas, and Perez with dreadful weekends in comparison to their teammates, and then Tsunoda and Latifi at the back. So there we go, that's exactly what my algorithm thought for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Let us compare this now to my rankings and then also the average audience rankings from Sunday. So if we just pull up the leaderboard for the data-derived ranks, we have them here with their scores and their position, and then I fill in my opinions ranks. So I put Max Verstappen at the top with a score of 19 out of 20, followed by Lando Norris, then Lewis Hamilton, then Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Now, it's a fairly similar-ish, no, it's not very similar at all, top 5, to what I have compared to my data. It's actually very different. The only person that we've got matching is Charles Leclerc and also Max Verstappen. Interestingly, my data-derived ranks have put Hamilton down in P8, yet I've managed to put him P3. Again, this is all due to subconscious bias, results about opinions and things like that, which is exactly what the data-derived ranks doesn't look at. And then taking a look at the audience results, you have also put, matching me, Max Verstappen at the top, Lando Norris P2 exactly the same as me, then Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz. Both me and the audience have the same top 5, we just have Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc in slightly different places. But interesting, turning our attention to the bottom half of the field, the data-derived ranks has also put Bottas in the bottom section, along with me as well. I put him last, scoring 5 out of 20, and you guys have scored him 6 out of 20 on average, actually ahead of Nikita Mazepin. You thought Mazepin did worse than Valtteri Bottas in this Grand Prix. And there we go, there is the comparison of my data-derived ranks, my opinions, and also your guys' opinions as well. Now I've just got one final table to show you, and that is combining the results from the first race in Bahrain for the data-derived ranks, my opinion, and then also the audience opinion, to see progressively throughout the series, adding up each of these scores, seeing who the best driver is at each of the Grand Prix. So the data-derived ranks for the whole season so far puts Max Verstappen P1, followed by Mick Schumacher, Lando Norris, Lance Stroll, George Russell, also very close with Lewis Hamilton P6, Charles Leclerc P7, then Raikkonen, Ocon, Sainz, Giovinazzi, Bottas, all the way down to Mazepin and Latifi at the bottom. And then my opinion ranks have put Max Verstappen at the top so far, just 3 points clear of Hamilton and Norris, joint on 34, then Leclerc, Sainz, Ricciardo, Gasly, Raikkonen, Russell, Tsunoda, with again Mazepin at the bottom, but I have also put Vettel near the bottom as well. And then finally, the audience total score so far throughout the season has put Lewis Hamilton at the top, joint with Max Verstappen on exactly the same score, 34.6. And then interestingly, each and every one of these 3 categories have put Lando Norris in P3. Charles Leclerc appears P4 for both me and the audience, along with Sainz in P5 as well. And then all the way at the bottom, we have all agreed that so far Mazepin has not had a very good season. And there we go, there is the end of my... What series is this called? And there we go, there is the end of my driver of the weekend video for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Join me in 2 weeks' time for the Portuguese Grand Prix, where there'll be another set of 8 videos that comes out throughout this race weekend. Also, sometime later this week, there'll be a very special video coming out at some point in a new series, which I'll slowly continue throughout this season. But that's all I've got for you today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next episode with whatever and whenever I decide to make it. I'll see you guys then.